Hi, I'm Valerie Engelhart, and in this video I am going to be painting a surreal, kind of unsettling scene. I am working on hot press paper, 140 pounds, and I am doing all of this in real time, so you can see how quickly or how slowly I work without anything being sped up. So I am starting with a watery mix of permanent alizarin crimson and yellow ochre to create a fleshy tone. Now, you clicked on this, you saw the thumbnail, so I'm not really painting a face, it's where a face should be. Going in with permanent alizarin crimson to create form to my kind of oval head shape. And I'm allowing the water to sit on the surface because I do want interesting textures to be created. Because this was a quick painting that I wanted to get done in less than 30 minutes, I simplified my colors. So I've just got the yellow ochre, the permanent alizarin crimson, and later I'm going to come in with some manganese blue hue. Now, obviously I've gone without a sketch, so everything I do is measured off of other shapes. So I started with the focal point, and now I like to connect my shapes, so while everything is still wet, I just used water to connect the face to the face mask. Now the idea of this is multifaceted, so I did this as part of Inktober 2023 prompt remove, and I did it based on the idea of like removing your face at the end of the day, which I have a pretty sardonic sense of humor and I love double meanings. So the idea of removing your face at the end of the day is like where you come home from work and you can take off your makeup. And for this, I went with taking off your mask, essentially. And I used a reference photo from a copyright-free site of just someone removing one of those like face masks that you would use for like hydration or, you know, something from the beauty aisle. And so they are literally removing a mask, and that mask is their face, showing that there's nothing underneath. Ready to apply a brand new mask. So while things are still damp, I'm using a dry brush to lift out some of the highlights. Because I don't sketch first, I do have to be careful with where my shapes are, but I do like to paint loosely with lost and found edges. And so one of the eyes of the mask has hard lines, but the other has soft lines. I'm now going in with my manganese blue hue because I want that to be the towel that's wrapped around my person's head. You know, like after you've washed your hair and you wrap it up in the towel to get it out of your face. And I picked the manganese blue hue because it adds a nice contrast. It's a nice cool color, and usually towels and the robes for like a spa day are white, but you can't really paint white on white. So you paint shadow, you remove the light. I did want some of that alizarin crimson to bleed into the blue because that brings cohesion to the piece. Having shapes and colors connect is a great way to keep your composition flowing. And because I did keep this in real time, you can see in real time how this painting is drying, the blooms that are forming, and I really like that. I find that I get more extreme looking blooms on hot press paper. So when I'm painting the robe, I'm just painting the creases, anything that creates the shadow. And I wanted to keep my colors minimal because this was just a quick study piece for fun. Also, that way I'm not getting too hung up on colors, I'm really just focusing on shapes. Now, hands are something that many people struggle with, and part of painting this way is great in that everything I do is shapes. Everything I paint, I'm not painting a hand, I am painting what is the shape in relation to this other shape, in relation to this other shape. And that makes it a lot easier to process. It keeps me from getting hung up. And just dragging that pigment down to the edge of the paper. And while the hand area is still wet, I'm dropping in a little more of that alizarin crimson. Okay, the painting has dried. I am ready for the second layer. So I'm starting with the arm. At this point, I'm not mixing in any yellow ochre. Everything is just going to be that permanent alizarin crimson to act as the shadow. So using red for a shadow is warm, but humans have, like blood under the skin. That sounds really dark, but I mean, it's literally what happens. So keeping the shadows warm keeps the skin tone warm, and this red is a cooler red, so it still reads as a shadow. Also, because the value is darker. So I am painting shapes to separate the mass into fingers. And the best way for me to do this is when I have a reference image, I use an app to make it black and white, but not just black and white. It isolates the values so I can easily see shadows. Because I'll isolate things from, what might have hundreds of shades of gray, down to anywhere from 3 to 7, depending on how technical I want to get. And usually for studies like this, I'll bring it down to like 3 or 4. All right, so after painting in my lines of separation, I just go and soften my pigment with a damp brush. And just continuing to add in the shadows to create the shape. So I did decide to publish this video in October, not just because this was an Inktober design, but it is kind of spooky and unsettling, and I thought that's perfect for the spooky season. Adding in some deeper shadow between the fingers. Oh my gosh, my cat is like meowing so loudly, and I think my mic is picking it up. So if you hear that, that's Chai, and he's just crazy. All right, now I'm focusing on the face mask. And same thing as the fingers, I am just looking at my reference image and seeing where the shadows are and painting the shadows, subtracting the light. I gotta say, it's really easy to paint people when they don't have a face. Maybe it's like Slender Man's spa. Am I dating myself there? With the Slender Man reference? All right, got my manganese blue hue, and I'm just adding some deeper shadows and creases onto the robe. And all in all, not including drying time, this painting really only took about 10 minutes to do. And here's the finished painting. So if you like this video, press the like button so I know to make more like this. And if you want to see more, subscribe because I make videos every Monday and Thursday. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye!